Welcome back to Blurred Summits. Today we are talking about nutrition. So this is going to be a little bit different this episode. It's going to be more of a Q&A style thing. I'll be asking Abdul a bunch of questions. He'll be rapid firing back the answers because he's a lot more experienced in this field than I am. Some of these will be kind of my questions. Other ones will be some that's super common on the web.
Yeah.
Hopefully Abdul will know how to answer most of these since he's probably taken 5 classes on this, and this is basically his whole degree. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah,
here.
kind of.
So just super brief one here. Why is nutrition important?
Well, obviously, we all know the answer to that. It's when you eat better, you feel better. When you're consuming things that are good for you, then they can do things for you mentally. They can do things for you physically. They can help you in pretty much any aspect of your life. That's really a short answer. I don't think anyone really needs convincing about nutrition.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty clear, right? You go eat McDonald's, you go eat some fast food. It feels good in the moment.
Pretty bad about yourself.
Well, it feels good in the moment, and then 5 minutes after you're done, it's like, oh, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Just those quick craving sort of things, right?
It.
So I think this is one that more so I'm interested in than the internet is what am I burning when like I'm working out or I'm walking or I'm doing these sort of things, right? Is it fat? Is it calories? What is it? And how does that sort of change?
Exactly. So you are usually burning fat if your exercise intensity is less than like 35%. Between 30 to 40%, anything less than that, you're going to be burning off more fat than you are going to be burning off sugars. Obviously, you're going to be burning off both, but for the most part, it's going to be fats. And then after 40%, from 40% intensity to 100% intensity, you're going to be burning off more carbs and sugars than you are fat. So take that into account when you're thinking about what do I want? Do I want to burn off more fat or do I want to go really intense and then maybe build up more muscle?
So is that based on heart rate or is it based on, I think, another one that I'm familiar with VO2 max? I'll throw out all these random terminology. Yeah. I don't really know what it means, but I think those are sort of the two that I've kind of looked at when I've been looking at training.
Yeah, VO2 max is just basically your oxygen consumption, right? It's how much oxygen are you consuming during that period of time, and heart rate can be correlated to it. Basically, if you're working harder, it's a very subjective measure.
Yeah.
Like you can tell if your intensity is hard. If you're going as hard as you possibly can, if you're sprinting, then that's a lot more different than a 30% difficulty, which is probably medium intensity. I would say it's like a 5 or 6 out of 10.
Yeah, and I think when I'm doing like kind of like long distance training, stamina training for like running and things like that, that's kind of what I do. Is like I keep it low. Like I think it's 140 because I have my Apple Watch, so I can see that stuff. Yeah, 140 BPM because I don't want it to go up into that anabolic. Is it anabolic? Is that the right one?
No, it's anaerobic.
So I don't want it to go into like the anaerobic thing because then I start burning all like the calories, right? So then I'm working on I guess my stamina or my quick burst instead of my long-term training, right? Mm-hmm. So I guess that's where that is kind of what I'm familiar with. I was just kind of curious where things lie on that workout side of things. So this one that the internet, I think everyone seems to be about this one. Or should you really eat your veggies?
Yeah, that's a good question. The short answer is obviously you should. But the real answer is why, right? Like why should we eat our veggies? So the reason why you should eat your veggies is because vegetables have in them a lot of phytochemicals. And what are phytochemicals? Phytochemicals are the chemicals that give vegetables their color. It's what makes them green. It's what makes tomatoes red. It's what really gives them their colors. And what they found is that phytochemicals help out with a ton of things. First of all, they have anti-inflammatory effects, right? So if you have a lot of inflammation, a lot of, redness and stuff going on in your body, it decreases that inflammation. Next, it has a lot of antibacterial effects. It kills off a lot of these bad guys that are existing.
COVID, baby. Eat your veggies, exactly.
Bro. Eat your veggies, you won't get COVID. That's the moral of the story. No. But the biggest the biggest thing is it has antioxidant effects. So what does that mean? So oxidative damage happens in your body normally from things like the smoke in the air, the sunlight. And what oxidative damage is pretty much your DNA breaking down, the proteins in your body breaking down. Obviously, that's what makes up your body. You don't want those things to break down. Yeah. And what these phytochemicals do is they make sure that doesn't happen. Okay. So this is really great for things like it's been shown to decrease likelihood of cancer. It's been shown to decrease likelihood of diabetes, autoimmune disorders, all of these, Alzheimer's, right? Like all these really, really bad.
So all you really need to do, the answer to everything, work out
Eat your veggies.
Eat your veggies, bro.
That's it. Don't even go to the doctor anymore. You heard it here.
We are your doctors.
Blurred Summits.
If you have any questions, leave it down in the Instagram. Dr. Hudson
and Dr.
his assistant.
Abdul.
No, you're not a doctor. You're my
What?
assistant, big man.
Okay. Nurse Abdul. Hey,
I like
nurses
that.
are cooler. Anyways.
Says a guy that's not going into nursing. Okay, so yeah. So this one, I think I'm pretty familiar with this. I've heard some myths, some truth. This is one that I think is kind of out there a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that a little bit of alcohol is okay. Like it's actually beneficial to have a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, so this is a big question that's going around because a lot of people are thinking, okay, hearing all these blogs and stuff like that, alcohol is actually kind of good for you. So where is the truth in that and where's the myth in that? So here's the truth. If you consume, we just spoke about phytochemicals.
Yep.
Wines are made from grapes. Grapes also have phytochemicals, especially the purple grapes. Phytochemicals give grapes those purple colors. So when wine is made out of grapes, those phytochemicals end up having a positive effect on the body. Mm-hmm. So this is why they found, for example, people in France don't have heart attacks nearly as much as people in America. Why is that?
They drink all that champagne.
They drink a ton of wine, right? Now, it can be destructive to a certain amount, but what they found is that if you're a man who's older than 45 or a woman who's older than 55, then having one drink of wine per day can be cardioprotective.
Damn, so you really learn a bunch of stuff in these classes.
So what cardioprotective means is pretty much it protects your heart, as cardioprotective says. Mm-hmm. And so it decreases likelihood of heart attack, and it can decrease likelihood of heart disease and stuff like that.
What about cider? And blood clots. What about cider? Like apple cider?
Yeah. So
pear cider?
Exactly. No. Any other alcohol, any spirits or beers have not been found to have that cardioprotective. So it has to be grapes? It has to be.
Or is it like the process?
The base has to be grapes. Without the grapes, it does not have a benefit. Without the grapes.
So what this really means is don't even worry about your veggies. Eat your fruits.
Eat your grapes.
Eat your grapes.
Eat your grapes.
People like grapes, baby.
Yeah, grapes have been found to be really amazing. So eat your grapes, but that's why they found that alcohol, when they say, oh, some alcohol is good for you, that's what they mean. If you're younger than that, men 45, women 55, it's not been found to have any benefit. And they also found that, generally speaking, drinking alcohol in any capacity increases the likelihood of breast cancer in women. So that's just something to consider. Is that something that you want to go for versus the benefit of it helping with your heart? So, it's a balance, but the myth is that all alcohol is good for you. And the truth is that some of it can be beneficial in certain
to an extent.
Exactly.
So this is one, I think we have a bunch of friends who kind of do this. And I've always kind of been curious on it, is should the average person count calories? I think that's one that it's a pretty controversial thing from like in all aspects of life. Everyone's kind of worrying about that, right?
Everyone's on MyFitnessPal.
Yeah.
And the
Under Armour actually got that stuff. That's big brains from Under Armour, bro. They got that stuff on lock.
MyFitnessPal is a massive app. They're making millions. It's ridiculous. But counting calories for the average person, the answer is no. You shouldn't count calories because counting calories has a ton of negatives to it. Mm-hmm. So what are these negatives? First of all, unrealistic body images, right? It destroys your mental health for most people. It'll absolutely destroy their mental health. It creates a narrative where a person begins nitpicking at the finer things. Mm-hmm. And so they don't enjoy life as much because they're so worried about these calories that they're counting. The alternative is to eat mindfully and to eat in proportions. So according to the Canadian Health Guidelines...
The new one?
The new one. Not the old one. The old one had like this
the
food
pyramid,
groups,
bro.
And it's like a pyramid, and they showed it to all the kids. Yeah. This new one, it's very simple. Mm-hmm. They show a plate, and on that plate, half of the plate has fruits and veggies. A quarter of the plate has carbohydrates and, your carbs. And the last quarter of the plate has your proteins. And they said, eat as much damn food as you want until you are full. Just make sure you maintain these proportions. Mm-hmm. So if you say to yourself, oh man, I ate my plate, but I still want a little bit more meat. Are you able to consume double the amount of fruits and veggies with that, as well as the same amount of carbs? If you are, go ahead, eat that meat, eat another plate. But if you aren't, that's where you should call it a stop right there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think With like counting calories, I think that's why like a lot of athletes, like the mental health side of issue with athletes is so much bigger than it is, right?
Terrible. Yeah, a lot of people think athletes have really good body images because they're all fit and, they have a great physique and all that. But they have the worst compared to the normal population. They have terrible body image. They have more eating disorders than any other population group. It's really, really bad.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I think that's something to consider, right? As the cost versus benefit of counting calories.
Yeah. And the next thing is mindful eating, right? So what does mindful eating mean? It's when you go down to eat, we need to listen to our natural body cues about when we are full and when we are hungry. And usually if we have a lot of things and external distractions happening, we lose track of that. So a good couple tips to make sure that you're mindfully eating. The first one is eat without distractions, right? Don't be watching a movie. Don't be watching a TV show. I know I'm terrible with this.
Oh, I do that all the time. I don't know there's been a single time I've sat down to eat by myself and just literally not had anything on, just munching away at my food.
Exactly. And that's bad because you end up consuming a ton more food than your body actually wanted initially, just because you're so distracted. The next one is when you are eating, don't eat in a state of stress or panic, right? Don't just come off of running a 30-minute run and be like panting and all this kind of stuff and start consuming all this food, because you're likely to consume a lot more than you normally would.
I mean, you could down a protein shake after, but like obviously
that's
prepping that before, basically. You say, I'm going to do this after. Prepared.
Right? You don't want to be in a state of, and you don't want to be super stressed about something while you're eating. I know sometimes that's difficult, but try as much as possible to not be stressed. Last but not least, eat slow and don't be in a rush. Don't eat 3 minutes before you need to leave the house because you're going to miss the bus and you're just downing all this food. It ends up happening sometimes, but try to avoid it as much as possible, because if you get in that habit, you're just going to be getting way hungrier than you should. You'll get hungrier earlier and you're going to be eating way more food than you naturally would.
Well, I think, that's funny. Like when I eat by myself, I eat insanely fast for some reason. But then when I eat with my family, like at the dinner table, I'm like the last one there. I eat so slow for some reason. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
I think it's probably like that distraction sort of thing, right? Like there's not much distraction when you're at the dinner table. So I'm like, okay, we'll eat slow. Or eating my breakfast at my desk, just watching a video or whatever, just scarf that down. Or I guess I got class to do or something, right? Like something to do. So it's
exactly. So these are very unconventional tips, because in your normal day-to-day lives, like even with myself, I'm watching a show when I'm eating as well. And usually I'm in a rush and all this kind of stuff. But these are just some things to keep in the back of my mind. And our minds, right?
Yeah.
And to sort of help ourselves get a little bit better while we're eating.
Yeah, I think if you don't have to do this all the time, but like if you can do it, why not, right? Like it definitely makes tons of sense to do that.
Yeah.
So I heard like this is one that I'm again with the kind of gym thing. It's like I heard like I feel like, at least in my view, that like bulking and cutting, it seems like it must be terrible for your body, right? Like the changing the diets, changing the calorie intake like drastically for both sides of it. And I think it must be bad for you, but is it actually bad for you, or is it beneficial like most of these people that do it seem?
Yeah, like truth is bulking and cutting gets you the results that you want the fastest. There isn't really a faster way to get it unless you take steroids or something. This is your next best bet, right? Bulk, cut, and consume protein. The thing is, if we're talking about the average person, let's say that you're not going to a competition. If you're going to Mr. Olympia and you need to be cutting and that kind of stuff, sure, there is no way to really get around it. But if you're just the average person, you are better off maintaining a steady diet versus cutting and bulking.
Because it's hard on your body, right?
It's hard on your body, but more so it's also hard on your mental side as well.
Because it's back to the counting calories side of thing?
Because it's back to the counting calories. It makes you overly obsessive, and you're more likely to have like body dysmorphia if you do it.
Because when you're bulking, you're purposely putting on fat, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you're eating more than you should be.
And usually, people, it's like dirty bulk, and like they're just eating McDonald's all day. So it's not really how bulking is supposed to be. It's just an excuse.
And then when they cut, they eat like a slice of chicken and half a cup of rice in a day. And they're like, that's what I gotta do. Like, it's like, how can you do that? Like, you're punishing your body.
You are literally that's the perfect way to describe it. You are literally punishing your body, and it's a very bad thing to do.
Something I was like, I've always wondered that, and I was like,
So, for the average person, don't do it. If you want results and you want them quick, then
I'd say it's probably, it shouldn't be a want. It should be like if you need results for some.
Yeah, if you need results.
Like a want, it's a desire. Just go to the gym more. Be good on the physical side.
A cut, you cannot maintain a cut forever. Eventually,
that's why people are like for the summer. They do it for like 3 weeks out of the summer, and then they got to go back to bulking season now for 7 months out of the year.
The issue with that is like it also reinforces insecurities as well. Because if you're just cutting for the summer, why are you really cutting? You're cutting because you want everybody to see you with a good body, right? And so if you do that for the summer and then you go back to being fat in the winter, you're reinforcing insecurities and these dependencies on people's validation, right?
Yeah. Who would have thought all this stuff ties back to just diets, right?
Exactly.
So this is a lot of gym related stuff here, but do you really need to eat proteins to make gains?
Yeah. There's a huge misconception with the idea that consume 1 million grams of protein and that's how you're going to make all your muscle. You need protein to make your muscle. You need amino acids to make your muscles. That is absolutely true. But how much? Eventually, there's diminishing gains, right? There's if
marginal returns.
Marginal returns, it plateaus on the amount of proteins that you consume. So the recommendation, if you want to see how much protein should you consume, is roughly 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of your body every single day. So figure out how many kilograms do you weigh and multiply that by 1.5, and that's how many grams you should be consuming for the average person. If you are an elite athlete or you really want to, you're like a powerlifter or something like that, you could go slightly above that. But generally speaking, average person, 1.5 grams per day. On top of that, you don't want to consume more than 20 to 25 grams of protein in a single sitting, right? Like in a single meal, you don't want to dump 2-3 scoops of that protein powder in your oatmeal and then start eating that, because
that's
after
so
literally,
it's
disgusting.
I'm like, that's the nastiest thing ever.
But after 20 to 25 grams of protein, there's diminishing returns because your body isn't able to synthesize and use that protein to actually build up that muscle. So you're pretty much just eating it, and what it's going to do is it's going to burn it off as calories. So, eat 20 to 25. That's why you see a lot of these big powerlifter guys, they're eating tons of meals throughout the day. They're eating like 7 meals throughout the day.
But there's low protein per meal.
Because they only consume 20 to 25 grams of protein per meal throughout the day.
That's still like 140 grams of protein in a day, though.
Yeah, well, some of these guys are insanely big. Some of these guys weigh like a ton of pounds.
Like Arnie, bro.
And they consume over amounts. Now, this isn't to say that consuming more proteins gives you zero benefit. There is benefit.
It's just marginal.
It's just so minimal that... Like, supplements cost a lot of money, man. You don't want to be wasting it on literally zero gains.
It's like $80 for one of those big tubs of protein.
Exactly.
Like if you down that just to get, hey, let's get like a little bit stronger, a little bit more muscle. Why?
Yeah.
So I've got one last one here. I think we'll end it off on one that I think everyone can kind of get behind is, are all carbs bad for you?
No. So not all carbs are bad. You have simple carbohydrates, you have complex carbohydrates. Generally speaking, your simple carbohydrates, they are bad. So what are your simple carbohydrates? Your white breads, that kind of stuff. Those are just empty calories. You aren't getting many real benefits
like
from
white rice
them.
is in that.
Like white rice, exactly. White rice, really bad. Why they say eat brown rice is because brown rice, being a complex carbohydrate, it has a lot more nutrients and benefits along with the calories. You don't just want to be eating calories for the sake of eating calories. You want to eat those calories and have the fiber, have the nutrients, have all this stuff that's coming along with it. And so complex carbohydrates are the way to go, even though they might not taste the best.
Yeah, I think that we learned that I learned that in chemistry for some reason, like the simple versus complex. I guess because of the buildup of them, but I think that does make sense, right? Like you're eating things that give you benefit.
But you still need to consume carbs.
Yeah.
You still need to consume carbs.
Because that's what your body kind of eats off of, right?
You have two extremes. You have the one extreme of the guy who's going to the gym and he is eating a ton of protein and stuff like that. And then you have the other side, which is like cut out all the carbs in the world because I'm trying to lose all my body fat and stuff. Diet culture comes down to this, is most diets fail. The reason being is that they're not sustainable for a change in your lifestyle. And so the way that you want to approach diets, instead of just saying, okay, I'm going to go on a 3-month diet and lose 20 pounds, is that you want to say, how can I change my diet right now to be permanent? permanently change this. This isn't something I'm going to quit after 3 months. This is something that I'm going to stick with. And if you do that and have it sustainable, sure, you'll lose less pounds initially, but it'll be able to maintain. That's why, would you rather lose a few pounds and maintain that for the rest of your life and lose a little bit more each time? But that's easy and you don't have to suffer and you don't have to say no to all these different foods. Or would you rather go on this 3-month binge essentially and you lose 20 pounds, but guess what? You gain back 20 pounds the month after.
Yeah, you gain it back faster than you lost it.
Yeah, you gain it back so damn quick. So it's really not worth it.
How about going pescatarian? What does that do?
So pescatarian yeah.
We'll just go on this little tangent. We've both done this, so
yeah. We were on a pescatarian diet for almost 6 months.
I think it was six, roughly, I guess. Yeah.
It was like roughly 6 months, and so, pescatarian diet, fish-based diets have a lot of benefits, cardioprotective benefits.
Apart from the mercury side of it, it's
well, if you're not eating tuna,
yeah, just don't eat the tuna.
Yeah, like really big fishes you want to avoid, but salmon is perfectly fine. Now, the pescatarian diet kind of follows a Mediterranean-based diet. Mediterranean diets are amazing. They say like they're kind of the gold standard of diets. If you want to have all the health benefits, go search up Mediterranean diet, follow that diet for the rest of your life. Those people who follow Mediterranean diets, who kind of live in those areas, they have been found to have decreased heart disease. They live longer. They're happier. They're less mental health problems, and they're healthier and they're stronger. And they're faster.
The oils and all the things they use, they're like the healthy ones. It's like olive oil and things like it's like healthier, heartier things for your body.
Exactly. Right? So pescatarian followed it in the fish aspect, but the Mediterranean diet has other elements to it, such as the types of oil that you eat and the types of nuts that you eat and that kind of stuff. Yeah, not nuts for you, but
no. Well, the funny thing is, like, I found the pescatarian diet, like, I found it good, but since my dad's allergic to fish, it was really hard for me to do.
Right.
I think if it wasn't, I think I probably could have still been like, I could have been on it probably indefinitely. Like, I don't really, like, sure, like red meats and stuff are nice, but they're not like a must-have sort of thing, right? Like, you can find the good fish to just replace it.
Yeah, I think like I wouldn't permanently change to that type of diet because I found like it had initial benefits in that, maybe I was less lethargic, I was less tired, that kind of stuff. But eventually it kind of plateaued and I felt the same as I always did. So it didn't really work for me as much.
And then it isolates us both from being able to eat what our family eats for dinner and all that other
it
stuff.
Isolates you more from the kinds of foods that you can eat and that kind of stuff.
It'd be different if you lived together with some other people and you're all doing it. That would be pretty easy to sustain, I think. Like, you wouldn't even notice it, but since you're living at home, it's tough to do.
And some people, other types of diets work out for them as well. Like, for example, some people go on all meat diets. Complete meat. What? They only consume meats and vegetables. No carbs. So this is another example of an extreme. But
isn't that what type of diet is that?
Yeah, it's I forgot what it was called, but it's similar to like the old caveman.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking of it. Yeah, caveman diet.
They found that it really helps with autoimmune disorders. People who have aggressive autoimmune disorders, it helps with them. It helps with people who have like extreme depression. Those types of diets really help them.
Wow.
It might be the gluten. It might be, who knows what it could be, right? So there are different types of diets that work for everybody. There is no correct way, but generally speaking, for the average person, you want to be balanced.
Just doing your research and finding, like, if you're trying to do a diet, find one that you think is sustainable for you, that has a lot of foods that you like and that you can eat, and you're willing to eat those for an indefinite period of time and just try it. Like, for us, we said it's 6 months, right?
Yeah.
So say I'll do it for 6 months. If at the end of the 6 months I found this insane noticeable difference, keep going with it. If not, then you drop it. Right? Like,
no harm, no foul.
Like, doing, like, as long as, like, those not so insane ones, you're not being punished for going onto those diets, right? Like, if you're doing, because you almost did, which one was it? The caveman diet? You almost did one that was insane. About it.
Yeah.
And that one, they're like, you can't eat anything on that thing, right? You're going to do it for a month. But then, like, I've seen people doing that and you lose so much weight.
That was kind of as just because I wanted to prove someone wrong. But I was just stubborn.
Yeah. And then it just never happened. But that's finding things that you think you can sustain and just doing them, right?
Exactly. Absolutely. Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode. We hope that we could answer some questions that were lingering in the back of your mind, and you could be a little bit more informed about your nutritional decisions. If you guys would like to follow us on YouTube, you can watch the full video podcast. You can also catch the full audio podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pandora, and Amazon Music. And last but not least, you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok for daily content where we would love to get to know you guys and interact with you guys more. Thank you.